meeting. This meeting is respectfully held on the traditional territory of the Tsakos Nation, on whose land we live, work, and play. I want to also acknowledge the fact that Mayor Moutre is virtually attending the meeting tonight. So item 2, adoption of the agenda. There are 2 things to add to tonight's meeting. Under 6.4, we're going to release from confidential the item on the pedestrian fencing along the CN right-of-way. And then 8.2 is, I think you've seen it, everyone's seen it, is a request for a letter of support from the Nechako Valley Senior Citizens Home Society. So that'll be 8.2. If I could add those 2, could I get somebody to move the agenda? Councillor Bolmer, Councillor Young, thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thanks. Okay, adoption of minutes from February 13th. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Martins, Councillor Bolmer. Any items that need discussing there? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thanks. Okay, bylaws following a public hearing, there's none of those. We go quickly to delegations. Nechako Kitimat Development Fund Society, Cindy Shelford and Britta Boudreau. But do we have one or both?
We're both here, and I'll let Cindy take the lead on this one. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Floor's yours.
Both of us. Thank you very much for having us here this evening, guys. Some of you have, I know, some of you I don't. So I'd like to introduce myself. I am the chair, and Britta, I see Tom on there too, if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
You go ahead, Cindy.
Okay. Britta's our manager, Tom's one of our directors. So, okay, so I'm sure we have a timed thing here. So you have the presentation in front of you. The slide is self-explanatory. I'll just kind of go through it, so then if you have any comments or questions, we can talk about it at the end. So I'd like to acknowledge that I'm calling in from Burns Lake, my home here on Burns Lake Band territory. And so slide 1, the Nechako Kitimat Development Fund. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not. So our mandate is to support sustainable economic activity in the northern communities that are affected by the Kitimat and Cabano project and by the creation of the Nechako Reservoir. So go ahead to slide 2. Is someone changing that? I'm not.
Yeah, we are working. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so again, I don't want to be taking extra time, but to explain things, but just in case some of the people aren't familiar with it, how we came about, our history. NKDF arose from an out-of-court settlement back in 1997 between Alcan at the time and the province of BC. So each party contributed $7.5 million for a total of 15. And the idea was to establish a legacy fund in perpetuity to provide grants for economic development projects within the impacted communities. So go ahead to slide 3. So NKDF invests in that area, in that region, in the Nechako Reservoir. So as you can see the map there, it's all the way up to the west of Kitimat Village. But it also takes in, as you guys are familiar in around yourselves there, starting at your end for the district of Vanderhoof and Sycoos, and then coming to the west, Port Fraser, Nutley-Weden, the village of Fraser Lakes, Stalaton, and then in around Burns Lake is Lake Babine Nation, Burns Lake Band, the village of Burns Lake, Skintyre, Chislada, Mitai Bun, and the south side area. And as I said, at start Kitimat Village. So with that, it's 9 Indigenous communities and 5 municipalities. And so I just have the list there for you guys to see. So go ahead to the next slide. So as you can see there with that chart. I won't go through all of them, but just obviously with that we support whatever the community is requiring for whatever kind of projects, which meets their needs, what they need for economic development, community building goals, and what contributes to the overall health and development and the stability of their economies. And so we kind of break it down into the 4 different categories of infrastructure, planning and research, human development, and marketing. And you can see within there the different criteria that they have to meet. So some examples for around Vanderhoof area for the infrastructure category would be your skate park that we did partnered on. For the planning and research would be the District of Vanderhoof, the hotel, the valuation study, and for the human development category, that actually was the first project ever funded by NKDF in our history. That was the Vanderhoof Chamber of Commerce that did a proposal writing workshop. I actually attended that. And then for the marking category would be the District of Vanderhoof, the wayfinding signage. So that's just some examples we just wanted to pull out to show you guys. So go ahead to the next slide. Am I going too fast? Is everybody grabbing that info?
Yep, good to go.
Okay. Okay. So, so for this slide, we have approved over $12 million and for 421 projects since our inception back in 1997. And well, that's when it started, so 1999. So, I see that's mentioned on there about the grant writing. So, so with that, that includes $3.761,709 million worth of projects for Vanderhoof, and 2.3 million and change, which was for 44 District of Vanderhoof projects. And that's just to show some examples of the different things. And I think most recently, Britta, correct me if I'm wrong, would that be the airport emergency lighting project? Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, next slide. So the status of the fund today. So this is probably where I'd ask Britta or Tom to jump in if they want to add something to this. It's like overall the fund is working. The combined funds have not really eroded over the years, but it's the way that it's held or structured is where our hands are kind of tied, and we have to do what the province says with the legacy fund and transferring dollars and just this way it's structured, the way it works. Tom or Britta, would you like to add to that slide?
Yeah, hi, Cindy, and hello, Council. It's been a while. I think it's important to point out that we're now some 24 year. I think we're in our 24th year, maybe 25th, depending on what you decide is our first term. And our legacy fund is virtually the same as it was when we started. And I think it's important to point out the $2 million that's in the working fund, which allows us to do the things that we do, I think, as well or better than many other funders, in that we are able to hire somebody like Britta, who champions our stuff, but is a paid employee, and she's paid out of the working fund. That allows us to do that. And yeah, we're often dealing with groups that aren't necessarily strong in the grant writing, and that's where Britta comes in, helps them out, walks them through it, and I think that's part of our strength. And I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for that, Tom. So yeah, so it's like we're dealing with $1999 still, like, you know, a lot of things haven't been taken into consideration. And we keep trying to explain this and say this to Rio Tinto and to the province. And as you can see in the breakdown there on the slide, that from 2004 to 2020, we were still getting approximately like our 500,000 per year So that's what we had to work with and to try to help all the communities. In 2021, the province informed us that it was reduced to 300,000, and last year they further reduced it to 250. So then we have to pull out of other funding to try to still make ends meet, and we don't like saying no to good projects ever, and especially with what we all went through with the downturn in the economy. So yeah, so that's why we're here today to talk to you guys about what's going on. Anything more on that slide, guys? Well, I guess too, like it says at the bottom there, there's indications that the transfer, they talk about it increasing, but is that going to be enough? Because they're not talking about increasing more than what we had, and we're already looking at lesser dollars than we realistically should be looking at. So go ahead to the next slide. So we do believe that the legacy fund should be increased, and to be able to, like we say, to be able to annual grants to be sustainable, and to be able to restore the annual grant funding to the historical level, and to essentially just keep up with inflation, because currently we aren't. And the breakdown there showing that $500,000 in 1999 dollars is only $359,000 today. Wow. So we've done a lot of brainstorming and did a lot of research and looked at things, and so we estimate that the grant fund should be increased to about 750 annually to be able to kind of meet with just the costs and inflation and everything. So okay, next slide. So with that, one of our working groups of the board of directors, we have an increasing capital committee, and so we're trying to look at how we could do that. And so we've set a strategic priority of ways to try to increase it. Been doing a lot of research on it, and trying to figure out what to do, because like we said, if we don't, if no action is taken, then we have to either look at reducing the annual grant or just accept the erosion of the capital base of the legacy fund, and we don't want to do either one of those. The example there, they're showing some things there in Vanderhoof for the additional funding that allows NKDF to increase the support to projects that directly benefit communities, because that's what it's all about, right? And so, was that too fast?
No, but it opens it up for questions.
Yeah, well, I thought, I mean, you have the slide deck in front of you. You guys can look at it afterwards and have discussions. I just wanted to be able to go through it and to be able to say. So, so with those things on the last slide, I think it's more slides. We just are saying that we're trying to look at ways to address this gap and to be able to support the communities that we serve. And so we had some suggestions, either written support, writing letters to the Premier and the Minister of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation, either networking, having discussions with MLAs in your area, or when you're at events, any kind of networking discussions with other communities when you're at events with them as well, and just trying to raise the issue in conversation, and then possibly sharing some of the positive impacts that the NKDF grants have done for your community, just to be able to get that word out, just to raise awareness that I think some of the other trusts or grant societies around the province get more notoriety than we do up here in the north. So anything we can do to raise our profile for all our communities in the north and work together would be greatly appreciated. So was there any questions or comments or?
For sure, Cindy. Thanks. first and foremost, I want to thank you and Britta and Tom and the rest of the board for doing the work that you do. Being, and this is aging myself, but being on council back in 97, didn't think we would be here, 24 years later, from 99 to now, talking about NKDF and its longevity and still having $14.8 million in the account. So I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I'll open it up for questions if anyone around council has questions. There we go. I got to get this here. Hold on. Councillor Young.
Oh, you figured it out.
I did.
Good.
Thank you.
You mentioned a significant number of communities now that are affected in a positive way from the investment area. Could you remind us, like, where did this start at in terms of communities? It's grown substantially, hasn't it?
Do you mean the numbers of communities that we serve?
Yeah,
Has grown?
since say 99.
Right. Britta, would you have more of a history on that about, I think it's always been,
There was an expansion, I can't remember what year it was, but that added Fraser Lake. And I believe Burns Lake was added after the fact as well because of its links to Southside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And Mayor Moutre, you've got your hand up.
Just two quick things. Just I noticed earlier speaking, you've mentioned trying to lobby Rio Tinto too, and seeing that's not on your list, but I'm assuming that is something that you would like us to keep pushing. And second is, again, mostly for the benefit of the new councillors. Tom kind of touched on this, but I think the importance of NKDF is it's those first dollars in usually on a project, and that's huge, right? The later dollars are often easier to find. It's those first dollars that you can then build off of is huge, and that support to get that going. So I just want to give a good shout out to you guys for that work that you do.
thank you for acknowledging that. And that is something like, yes, because of the size of our overall fund, we can't contribute to the size of maybe like an NDIT or something like that. But like you said, to get that initial first start, then that actually you can leverage other money because you see someone is involved. So then that kind of starts the ball rolling. So we take pride in that we're the first in a lot of instances. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Just a side note, who manages the 14.8?
That's the Ministry of Finance controls that investment. So it's managed by BCI, which is
BCI, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Question to staff on process. Easily, this is something we should be able to get behind and lobby for, because the team on virtually speaking to the converted in this room is that the rural urban divide in British Columbia is gaining more and more traction and is getting larger. So, and by the government moving from 500 to 300 to 250 just shows that. So how do we put this on an agenda and go from there? Colleen?
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. When groups make a presentation as a delegation, there's no requirement for council to make any action, but you can either ask for it to be brought back with a report, or you could just make a resolution tonight, kind of along the lines to write a letter of support, to speak with Rio Tinto and other communities. If you'd like, you could do that.
Okay. Councillor Bolmer?
Yeah, so I'd like to make that resolution that this council will now enter into a support letter writing campaign to support NKDF.
Seconder? There we go. And Councillor Young?
That's good.
Okay, thanks. Okay, any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Perfect. That's what we want. And yes, we will lobby.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would like to also mention, in case some of you aren't aware as well, that Britta, remind me, the mayors in the affected communities as well as the chiefs did write a letter. When was that?
That was in 2021, I believe. Mhm.
And they wrote it to the premier,
Mhm.
to the MLAs, to the ministers of the moment, and that's no result. But we're still reminding them. Now that there's been changeover, we've been having meetings again with whoever's in those positions again, and we're reminding them that we didn't get or that they didn't get a response, so then they weren't able to give us a response. So if you don't have access to that letter that the mayors and the chiefs wrote, I'm sure that we could get that. I think Chief Karina Lewin from Chislata Carrier Nation was the one who was kind of spearheading it, correct, Britta?
That's correct.
So we could get that letter to the District of Vanderhoof if you'd like to see it, if you haven't seen it already.
No, I appreciate that. There's so many opportunities for the mayor and council to lobby when we're at local government events, whether it's NCLGA or the LGA sessions coming up. So the sooner we can get that out, we can all say the same words. So I think that would be great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we thank you for your presentation and wish you a good evening, and hopefully it quits snowing soon. Here, anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for hearing us.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yes, we will use a different. Yeah. Yeah, we will use a different letter for sure. Yeah, it's an easy initiative to get behind. So good leverage money. So I think that's an important point. Thanks there, Ken. CAO report 6.1 public notice bylaw staff, and I am going there quick.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. The public notice bylaw is before you for 3 readings and also 3 readings of council procedures amendment bylaw to go along with it. If there are any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Could we get a motion on the floor first, please? Moved Councillor Bolmer, seconded Councillor Young. Any discussion on bylaw 1252? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you very much. Council priorities, staff.
This is just the follow-up from the session we had in early February to develop this council priorities, and it's now ready to be adopted and will be put on the web and added to every agenda package.
Excellent. Could I get a motion to adopt? Councillor Martins, second Councillor Bolmer. Okay, any discussions on the adopting council priorities 2023-2026? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And then 6.3.
Item, sorry.
6.3.
6.3, this is a request for arena fee waiver on March 11th for the Nechako Figure Skating Club's performance. There are representatives in the gallery tonight. If anyone has questions of them, the resolution would be to waive the arena fees.
Do I have a motion? Councillor Young moved to waive the fees. Councillor Martins, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay. You can go for rehearsals there, Councillor Young, you bet. Okay, to the amended item that we've added, 6.4, release from confidential.
Thank you. I think I should read this resolution out loud since it
Okay.
wasn't attached to the agenda. It will be attached to the minutes. It needs to be released. It should have been released from confidential in 2021. It wasn't. It needs to be released for the budget this year. So the resolution is to release the following from confidential: that the installation of permanent fencing along the CN rail right-of-way between Burrard Avenue and Recreation Drive at an estimated cost of $120,000 be budgeted for the 2023 fiscal year, pending a successful grant application to the Rail Safety Improvement Program for 80% of the total cost, and further that staff be authorized to submit a funding application to a future intake of the Rail Safety Improvement Program for 80% of the total cost, and further that this resolution be released from in camera.
Moved by Councillor Young, second by Councillor Bulmer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, councillor items. Councillor Young.
And also on Wednesday, we do have our another housing meeting coming up this Wednesday, so.
Okay, sorry, I didn't make you public there for the whole thing. That was
Oh.
purposely done. Okay, Councillor Bulmer.
So I also did not attend the Nechaka Valley Historical Society meeting. There was a meeting of them to redo their strategic plan, and I was to attend that, but I didn't make it because we were here
Yeah.
at that time. And then both Mayor Moutre and myself attended the annual general meeting of the Vanderhoof Chamber of Commerce. And they put themselves a board into place, and they need some help. They need some assistance. And then the following week, we attended, they held a meeting with the RCMP on business safety and how to deal with situations that arise when you run businesses and stuff like that, and how to work with it. It was well attended. There was 21 or 22 people at that meeting. So it was well attended, and it shows that people are interested in attending things at lunchtime that the chamber would go ahead and make. That's my report. That's all I've been at this time around.
No, thank you. Councillor Martins.
Thanks. I again wasn't there at the meeting on Wednesday too, because we were here. And as Councillor Young mentioned, we'll be there for that housing committee meeting on that Wednesday. And I just wanted to thank, they aren't here tonight, but that we should maybe thank our works crew for getting rid of that snow this weekend. It was a great job they did compared to lots of other communities. So kind of an official thank you to our works crew, I think, is in order.
Excellent. Mayor Moutre.
Great. Coming up this week, I got a meeting with the RBA, so that'll be interesting to see. We've had some of the leadership in Victoria talking to see what comes out of that. Also have a meeting tomorrow with the CFO from NDIT to talk about connectivity. I don't have an agenda on that, so I don't know exactly what he wants to talk about apart from it's City West and TELUS. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes. Wednesday night, hopefully everybody got an invitation to an evening on the Nechako from the Integrated Watershed Working Group from UMBC. If you didn't get hold of me, I'll send that out. That's always an interesting evening to learn about what research projects, etc., are going on within the watershed. Next week, the WEI meeting in town here. Andrew is going to be available too, so he and I are going to meet a little bit offline just to catch up on some things at the same time. That's it.
Thank you, Mayor Moutre. Just one item from me. Penned a letter, bounced it off the mayor on the announcement from the Old Growth Strategic Review process. Went down to the deputy minister last Friday, seeking more local government engagement. And it just shows you where we're at with the lack of local government engagement on any initiative. I see NKDF's the same way, but we're fighting an uphill battle where the seats of the current government seem to be down south. And I mean, we've got Nathan Cullen out in Smithers, but and Jennifer out further than that. But we really need to step our game up in advocating for local government engagement around rural British Columbia. And so I just wanted folks to know that that went out. And other than that, that's basically it. And we'll move on to 8.1, accounts payable listing. Any questions on accounts payable? Seeing none, we'll move on to 8.2. And that is a late item, which is the Nechako View Senior Citizens Home Society. Colleen, do you want to talk to that, or? I can get one.
I can. I think Mayor Moutre asked that it be added to the agenda as their deadline is March 15th for the grant application. So before you is what they are asking for and a history of the society and a little bit about the project.
Mayor Moutre, do you have any comments?
Yeah, sure. And I think you got Cliff Irving's response to me. I don't think you got my email. So just to be clear, this is a 14-unit project, not the bigger 32-unit that we were hoping for in the past. So that was the concern I raised, is just that we want to make sure that we get as much density as we can, and especially that parcel leans itself to higher density. But you see his response on there to those questions. Basically, it's at 14 units is shovel ready.
Yeah, for sure. I see two things, Mayor Moutre. I see a request for support for the Rapid Housing Initiative. Then I see later on there was a little bit more where they're looking for a few other things. Do we deal with the letter of support tonight and then work on? Okay. Can I have a motion to have a letter of support for this initiative? Councillor Bolmer, Councillor Young. Any discussion on this project and letter of support to get into the Rapid Housing Initiative? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, no correspondence. We are adjourned out of the regular council meeting. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll have a 5-minute recess.